days in 1997, Jean Kelman from France. Now, then you kind of look at other places like the Hunzas in the Himalayan mountains. They have little villages that have maybe 50 people in them and 100 people and that sort of stuff. And according to, all kinds of reporters that have gone there and so forth, we'll get to that a little bit. Some live to be 120 and so forth. And these are people without medical access. They're just eating what they grow in their gardens and so forth. So how come somebody in Hunza up in the Himalayan mountains has no pharmacies, no doctors, no health insurance, and they're living to be 120? What's going on? Okay, let's have a quick look at the scorecard here. The United States, we range, depending on who your data you're looking at, to between 75 and 79 years. Okay, right now, the country that has the longest life average is Singapore at 84.8. General practitioners, medical doctors in the United States live to be an average of 80.3. Surgeons in America, medical doctors, live to be 79. Emergency room doctors in America live to be 58.7. Why is that? Well, emergency room doctors' diet sucks. It's, the only way I can say it. They live on nothing but fast foods and soft drinks and so forth. And then they go home and drink whiskey. They're eating gluten and so forth. They really, really don't have a good diet because of their schedules and all this kind of stuff. They don't pay attention to those details. They mostly don't take vitamins and minerals. They think it's stupid. And so they give up at least 25 years of their life, okay, by eating the way they eat and drinking the way they drink. All right. So let's go on a little bit here and look at the scorecard. When you look at, again, you look at the United States, our average lifespan or life expectancy is 75 to 79. You look at let's look at Australia, it's 82.9. You look at New Zealand, it's 82.3. You look at Japan, it's 84.7. You look at Canada is 84. You look at China as 76. You look at the UK, which is England, Scotland, and Ireland combined. They live to be, and it's too light to put a darker print here. They live to be 81. Okay. Russia lives to be 72. South Africa lives to be 63. All right, and so I don't know if that's the white and the black population, if that's the black population only or the white population only. I don't know. I have to figure that one out. And then, let's see here. Let's look at Italy. Okay, Italy, they live to be 83. And Mexico lives to be 77. And Ukraine lives to be 71. Let's see here. Egypt lives to be 71. Germany lives to be 81.26. And Spain lives to be 82. And the Hunzas, these little villages, they claim, because they say they have records and so forth, but to be 120. That's one of the first big longevity stories in the various scientific journals and so forth. They sent reporters from the New York Times to go to Hunzas because they're claiming all these long lives. And they said, yeah, it's actually true because they looked at the records and so forth. And if the records were correct, then they did live to be 120. Okay. And so why is that? They didn't have doctors, so they can't say it's the doctors. They can't say it's the medication. So what's going on here? Well, it's because of the minerals from the volcanoes. Okay, and the Himalayan mountains are legendary for having so many volcanoes. All right. Now, life expectancy, we already talked about that briefly. And so, let's see here. Albania is 111. Argentina is 115. Okay. Now, the cost Okay, and I'll run through this quickly because I've done this maybe once a month, but I think it's worth saying again. The cost of healthcare in each country is very high. And we're talking about medical doctors and insurance and pharmacy and so forth. In the USA, Alzheimer's disease, we spend $305 billion a year just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent or cure. Arthritis, we spend $626.8 billion just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent or cure. Diabetes, we spend $342 billion a year just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent or cure. Heart disease, there's many of those, 15, 20, $316.8 billion just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent or cure the disease. Obesity, $260 billion just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent or cure. Cancer, I was surprised it's so low. It's $208.9 billion. I think that's because people with a really severe aggressive cancer don't live very long, whereas somebody with arthritis, $626.8 billion, like we're talking about 3 times as much for arthritis as for cancer. That's because they don't live very long when they have aggressive cancer. Okay, high blood pressure is 131 billion, MS, multiple sclerosis, very simple nutritional deficiency disease, 85 billion, just to treat the symptoms. Asthma in kids under the age of 10, very simple nutritional deficiency, 80 billion a year just to treat the symptoms. That's just the USA. Kidney disease, kidney dialysis, 24 billion just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent or cure. Okay, now, with all that said, let's look at the way things kind of work here. Okay, one of my favorites is osteoporosis. And osteoporosis and arthritis are sort of the same disease. Arthritis is osteoporosis of the joints. And then you have osteoporosis of the long bones. You get fractured, you go down the steps, you fracture your leg, and they put you in a cast or give you a hip replacement or knee replacement, maybe even cut your leg off and give you an artificial leg or so forth. Well, osteoporosis, when you combine the 3 countries that are very closely related, the US, Canada, and the EU, European Union, we go back a long time. We're all kind of the same brothers and sisters. Each year we spend, just to treat the symptoms of osteoporosis, not to prevent or cure it, $6.5 trillion. Okay, so our part, let's say it's only 1/3, is $2.2 trillion to treat the symptoms of osteoporosis in the United States. And to treat arthritis is $626.8 billion. And we're talking a lot of money here just to treat nutritional deficiency diseases, when if you ate correctly and took the 90 essential nutrients, even if you spend $100 a month, okay, on supplements because your body weight, that's like $1,200 a year to add 25 to 50 healthy years of your life. That's kind of worth it, okay? So when you look at common diseases of osteoporosis of the skull, and doctors don't know you get osteoporosis of the skull. They only like osteoporosis from here down because they can give you surgeries and operations to replace your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, the carpal tunnel syndrome, your fingers, and so forth. Same thing with your vertebrae. They love osteoporosis from here down. Same way with your hips and your knees and your ankles and your leg bones and so forth. Joint replacements, limb replacements. They love that. So why don't they recognize osteoporosis of the skull? Because they'd have to cut off your head and give you a head replacement if they were treating you the same way they did everywhere else for osteoporosis. Osteoporosis of the skull, there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves. They get squeezed by the skull when you get it. And of course, the spinal cord gets squeezed. All these are formed in the brain and come out through these little tunnels. And when you get osteoporosis, the skull gets thicker, okay, from connective tissue, not from normal bone, but from connective tissue, and it squeezes these nerves. You squeeze cranial nerve number 1, you lose your sense of smell. You squeeze cranial nerve number 2, you get optic nerve atrophy, and you slowly lose your vision. You get cranial nerve number 3, you get ptosis. Your pupil does not respond to light. Let's see here. 4, cranial nerve number 4, you get double vision and palsy, pain around your eyes and so forth. Trigeminal neuralgia, that's the 5th cranial nerve being squeezed. Terrible pain around your face, your eyes, your upper lip, and so forth. Cranial nerve number 6 gets squeezed, you get double vision and strabismus. Cranial nerve number 7, you get Bell's palsy. It can be on one side or both. 7th cranial nerve gets squeezed, your face droops. And then cranial nerve number 8, you get tinnitus, ringing in the ears. It's the auditory branch, and the vestibular branch, you get vertigo, Meniere's disease, and deafness, and so forth. Cranial nerve number 9 being squeezed, you get loss of gag reflex, lose your sense of taste. You don't talk very well, you lose your ability to talk. That's the glossopharyngeal nerve number 9. Number 10, you get gastroparesis when it gets squeezed. I mean, terrible pain. And doctors want you to believe that's due to a gastric ulcer, and they want to do surgery and take out half your stomach. No, it's just pain because of the 10th cranial nerve being squeezed, gastroparesis. COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is the a branch of the 10th cranial nerve, okay? Being squeezed causes problems with your diaphragm. Let's see here, AFib, atrial fibrillation, you get your heart jumps around, and they say, oh my gosh, you got a heart rhythm problem. They're going to go ahead and anesthetize you, cut you open, take your heart out, and touch it with a hot branding iron, hoping to find the place that's causing the problem, so they can do what's called an ablation. They take a hot branding iron and they put it on your chest to cure that spot, not your chest, on your heart. And so it has a very high mortality rate. Do not agree to the process of putting the hot branding iron on your heart, okay? And then, let's see here, cranial nerve number 11, loss of the trapezius muscle, you can't raise your arms. Let's see here, cranial nerve number 12 gets squeezed, atrophy of the tongue. Your tongue doesn't work very well, you can't speak. When you put that with the cranial nerve number 9, you can't communicate at all. The spinal cord being squeezed from your skull down, there's 17 different diseases from the neck down that are caused by osteoporosis of the skull. Babies are born with osteoporosis of the skull. They have Erb's palsy. They're paralyzed from the neck down. And doctors mistake it for cerebral palsy, but it is Erb's palsy. Wallach's fibrosis is what we call it, from the neck down. All of these things are totally reversible when you get off all the bad stuff. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, brown, and rye oats, no, let's see here, no sugar, no peanuts, and absolutely no carbonated drinks, because the carbonation neutralizes your stomach acid, so you cannot absorb minerals, or you cannot digest food, okay? So I urge you to pay attention, get the book and the CD, It's called It's All in Your Head. The book and CD deals with all these cranial nerve things in the spinal cord, 37 different diseases. It's all in your head, the book and the CD. You will be able to help your family, your church mates, your workmates, and neighbors, and so forth. It'll blow your mind. Okay, I think I know that Rebecca has a lot of stuff, so I'm going to quit there, okay, and turn it over to Rebecca, because I've got pages and pages. I could go further, but let's just go with Rebecca here and see what we can do.
Well, you could go on and on and on, and it would take even longer than normal, because you did a great job speaking slower, Dr. Wallach. Thank you so much. I get a lot of emails saying, please have him speak a little slower. Even on the replay, it's hard to write that fast. And I have to admit, Dr. Wallach, because I do plug in and I do listen to you on other shows, when I'm trying to write, I write really fast, and I do shorthand because I've been listening to you for so long, and even I miss stuff. So I appreciate you slowing down a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.